Hello, and welcome back to another meeting of the Geek Cabal. Cabal Whisperings, episode 7. So, we're moving up there. Today's date is September 16th, 2023. Yeah. So, I'm Jim, by the way.
Bob?
And, yeah, so just like normal, I think we've got any channel updates that we need to go over first, or...
Let's see. Nothing major. Just we put up the latest Ahsoka video on Friday, I believe, for the most recent episode, which was episode 5. We do need to issue a slight correction. We were under the impression there were 7 episodes. There are apparently 8. So we'll get another filler episode before we get thrown in the last 5 minutes.
Well, we still got to have the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Or
yes.
the book of the Mandalorian.
Yeah, somehow Din Djarin has to make his way to the other galaxy.
He's already over there.
He is just a... No, wait, that's Boba Fett, who's just a man making his way through the galaxy.
No, now it's Din Djarin.
Yeah, there we go.
That,
Grogu got him over there somehow.
Yeah, now if Grogu's in it, I think I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air. A funny thing, though, about, well, kind of a roundabout story on Grogu, but I was wearing a t-shirt that I wear on the channel occasionally here that's got Yoda with a seagull sitting on top of his head. Okay. And I had somebody try to ask me, they were asking me, what is that? And why does it say, stop it now, seagulls? And I had to explain that there was a bad lip reading song where they took the scene on Dagobah and turned it into a musical number where
Yoda, I think I've seen that.
Where Yoda was talking about going to the beach and the seagulls kept pestering him.
Yeah.
So yes, I've got a shirt that's got the seagull and on top of Yoda's head. So,
but that's been the main thing. This was to be by the time this airs, it will have been last week. So we had that. Did a few product things. Jim had the unboxing of the Sega Genesis 3. Did a book review for the Dungeon Crawl Classics reference guide. Which, if you're at all interested in Dungeon Crawl Classics, you should definitely check that out because it's probably worth your $10. And that's something that we're going to try to get a little bit more into if we can ever assemble the Avengers here again, so to speak. Let's see. That's I think that's most of the channel business. Oh, down in the comments, for those of you that listen to this, if you don't mind, we've thought about putting some polls up on the posts on YouTube. If we do that, would any of you actually answer them?
Yeah, I was gonna say if we put a poll up and we get like a person that put
yeah, because I'm under the impression that they only go to people that subscribe to the channel. So if any of you know that I'm wrong on that front, let me know. I'm going to put them up anyway. Just about some of the stuff we cover, some of the stuff we might cover, just polls kind of like that. So anyway, let me know down in the comments, one way or the other. I think that's about it before we actually get into our topics, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm falling behind on some of my getting my videos ready up and filming because like the unboxing stuff's pretty simple to do because you just unbox things. But I mean, I've got a couple others that I've wanted to do and I've wanted to get into the works. Like I said, I've got a restoration video that I want to do. I've got a Sega Saturn that I need to repair the CD drive on because it doesn't spin. Things like that I want to do, and it's like just trying to find the time to do it. And
yeah,
I mean, work's been like hell lately. I mean, where I've not been able to take lunches and shit because it's been busy.
Well, I don't know if you'd have any interest, but I had to do some closet diving earlier today. For those of you that don't know what on earth I'm talking about, that's when you have closets that are just packed to the gills with stuff, and you just start going through it to figure out what the hell all you've got. And one of the random boxes I came across had some computer game manuals in it, like SimCity 2000, 3000, and Command & Conquer 2, and just a few things. Didn't know if you'd have any interest in those, Jim. Like, I don't know what you do here with them on the channel, but maybe.
Well, you may want to look about trying to sell them because I was down at a game store in Evansville last weekend because we're celebrating Owen's birthday, and I've seen them selling some manuals down there for $30 or $40. Like
Well,
one of them was the War of the Gems manual. They had it for 40.
there you go.
I was debating on it, but I was like, oh, it's gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
And I doubt there's gonna be that many people that are gonna be like, gosh, damn, a manual for War of the Gems. I need it though because the copy that you sold me was a rental copy, and I bought it. One of the reasons I bought it specifically is because it was a rental copy.
Yeah. Yeah. I found those. I found a Maxis catalog that had to have come with SimCity 2000, so you can see what else was out around that time.
Well, I mean, those are interesting to go through.
If we ever want to start going through that kind of stuff here, I've got a bunch of old. I can't think of the name of the company, but I used to order comics through them. And like some of my first X-Men comics, that's what I did. I just ordered them through them because I got in the '90s reading the X-Men, and like the first big story arc I read was the Age of Apocalypse, and I was able to just like give them money, and be like, just send me all of the Age of Apocalypse comic books instead of having to figure out what all was. And they just sent them all to me. There was just a bundle you could order. And like I've got them that have like, I don't know, probably maybe the fifth set for Magic the Gathering for sale in them. Like the first set of the Star Wars trading card game or collectible card game from Cypher, I believe.
well, like I said, when we get to the topics on the road, remind me. I've got one for games that I had just watched, and very interesting. It was a lost media kind of thing. So
Yeah, I read somewhere that like 70% of computer games that have been released are currently unplayable because of because of needing specific drivers, or because they were like had DRM that you can't verify anymore, or they have to connect to a server that's no longer functioning. And there's a group that's trying to get the video game companies to let them bypass the legal problems to remake those things so the games will still function, because they want to actually have like a museum for them, and it helps if the game actually works if you're trying to display it.
yeah, because that's how GOG is able to put up all the games they do, is because a lot of them are abandonware.
Yeah.
It's games that just nobody cares about anymore. Companies that have since gone under and all of that kind of stuff. So, but no, there's a interesting show that I watched when we get to that point.
I do wish that Mech Warrior 2, 3, and 4 would fall into that, but I know they won't, because even though they weren't made, I don't think they were made by Microsoft, but Microsoft currently owns the video game rights to BattleTech. So I think, like, kind of de facto, they're owned by them, and they will not make any progress with that. So,
You never know, because like Rare has some weird crap that goes along with it. Because where Disney, or not Disney, Nintendo, one of the other big conglomerates, one of them out there, can still use some of the characters because they were developed under,
yeah.
but they're owned by Rare, and
Yeah.
Rare is owned by Microsoft.
Well,
I guess Microsoft is smart enough to go, well, these games probably aren't going to work really well on our Xbox platform. Let's release them on Nintendo's platform under theirs. And
Marvel has problems kind of like that. There's a few characters like Rom the Space Knight that was developed with another company, and so Marvel technically doesn't own the exclusive rights, so they can still use the Space Knights and the Dire Wraiths and everything else. They just can't use Rom. And but something about that actually just changed in the last couple of months, because they're going to release a ROM omnibus, or Romnibus, if you will. And I'm seriously considering buying it just so I have it in case the rights revert again. Because like I thought they had Conan's rights forever now, but they've been pumping out the Conan books like once a month, the old Marvel stuff. And now some other company has them. So I think Marvel has the rights to finish out the run and maybe reprint what they've printed or something, but they don't have the rights to the character anymore, if I understand it. Which also means that Savage Avengers omnibus I have is going to be potentially worth its weight in gold, because it's an Avengers comic with Conan in it. And now they don't have the rights to Conan, so they won't be able to reprint it more than likely. So, yeah. That's why I buy some of the weird, wacky omnibuy that come out. It'll be 10 years before I ever read it, but, Anyway, it's minor diversions. One of these, I'm going to start bringing some of these books on here to show you guys what these things even look like. But yeah, we need to get moving on to our topics here. So first, under movies, the Aquaman 2 trailer has dropped.
Yeah, I guess they had the trailer, but with
Yes,
all
we have a potential side story involved in this too. But let's talk about the trailer first, real quick. It appears Black Manta is the villain. He appears to have some kind of necromancer, kind of black trident thing that can bring the dead back to life. Is what I'm seeing in the trailer, and it looks like old Aquaman's going to go have to get his brother Orm to try to help fight.
yeah, and that played out about exactly as you expect it to, where he's like, "Bro," and he's like, "Don't call me bro."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I see Jason Momoa, and I think he's doing the best he can with that role. He's just trying to have fun with it, and I can't fault him for that. Um, I mean, the special effects and everything look all right. I mean, not any better, not any worse than the.
Yes, yet again, a movie that's probably going to be like 80% underwater, going to be brighter than movies that take place on land, like Batman, somehow.
So
But no, I like the first Aquaman, so, and we know we're getting Tamura Morrison back, so, it looks like, is it Nicole Kidman plays his mom?
yeah,
So, I think I saw Amber Heard kind of blurred out behind some glass, so we don't actually see her that much. Because I'm sure WB's like, all right, guys, don't promote her at all. We'll just surprise people with that one. So, because turns out people don't like it whenever you try to attack other people in the media. So yeah, I heard she features in Elon Musk's current book, the one that's about him.
yeah. I guess because they dated.
Well, yeah, they dated, but I mean, like, apparently,
I guess she dressed up as Mercy from Overwatch.
yeah. Not to derail on Elon Musk here, but I saw some reporter was talking about like, yeah, they had to edit our stuff. We couldn't report everything, and Elon Musk comes on Twitter to be like, yeah, because we have to make sure you're not like giving away secrets to our enemies because rocket technology. He's like, we didn't edit what you wrote. We just made sure you weren't spilling top secrets in your trash rag. So, not the book. That was an article. The book, I guess the guy followed him around everywhere or something. So.
Sounds like fun.
I'm sure he likewise had to make sure that like there weren't like secrets in that too. But
I don't know. Every time I see an Elon Musk post on Facebook, I always have to just go and read the comments because it's usually one person making a comment. Not even defending Elon Musk. They're like, well, no, he's just a businessman. He's just doing these kinds of things. And then somebody's like, well, there's somebody that must, love billionaires and blah blah blah. And it's just like there's so much hate. It's like either you hate Elon Musk or you're you want to be with him. You want to in all those intimate ways. And it's like that's not how things work. That's not how the world works. Just because you can agree with some points on somebody does not mean that you're
right. I mean, you can sit here and say you actually do think maybe Twitter should be an open platform. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean you agree with how he's gone about doing it. Doesn't necessarily mean you agree with trying to sell everyone an electric vehicle or sending people to Mars or the fact he gets a lot of government subsidies. I mean, just because you agree with one thing doesn't mean you have to agree with everything the person's ever said. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting reads. Anytime I see him, I always have to just go through the comments a little bit and just see what people are saying. Just because like I said, there is no middle ground. You can't have middle ground in those conversations, and I just don't understand that. Because I think with most people, even people that are bad, there is always some sort of middle ground you can usually find.
Yeah, it's not like not I don't want to use any extreme examples. Going to be accused of anything here, but like there's plenty of evil people that aren't just like 24/7 walking around like, oh, what can I do evil to? Here's a dog, let me kick it in the face, and let me throw this kid in front of this car, and like it just is not how people work. Like even those people, like I'm sure they're like, it's actually really nice and scenic out here. This is beautiful. Like, if they say that, are you supposed to all of a sudden be like, no, screw nature, burn it all down? Like, no, like, that's just insane. If you think they're evil, just don't associate with them. But, like...
So with the topic of...
anyway, back on track here.
Aquaman 2. So, again, the trailer's promising, but the question is what was this thing with all of these articles coming out saying that the movie was lost. That they lost all.
Well, I mean, that could actually still be true.
Yeah, because the trailer could have been done independent.
Yeah, the trailer could have been done independently. They could have given those people what they had, and then those people lost that before giving it back to them. And for some reason, they only made like one copy, even though it's all digital files, and you should have like 30 of them at the least.
Well, and it wouldn't be unprecedented from happening because Toy Story 2 that happened. That they lost all like the files got corrupted or something for the movie, but luckily like somebody had a copy of up to a point of the movie on their computer that they were able to use or whatever.
Yeah.
Something to that effect, but it wouldn't be I mean, to me it seems like it would be kind of impossible for it to happen, which is why most people speculated that it was purposely deleted and gotten rid of.
Yeah, it's a lot more likely to happen to an older movie where there's like one master print and then that's it. Like for instance, I watched The Bride of Reanimator the other day. First time I'd seen it, but I bought it through Vudu, and at the very end of the movie, it noted how they were able to rebuild it for digital. Like they were like, we had to use this copy for this and this copy for this, and like this company did everything, and they didn't have. I guess they didn't have the master print anymore, and so they had to find like the closest thing to it they could. And you could tell as the movie's going along, like some scenes were definitely like some of it's in what I think was HD, and then some like degraded to like VHS copy, and then back up.
Well, it's the complete opposite of what happened in the movie Slipstream. It seemed like the entire thing was like they copied it from some VHS copy. Because I was gonna say, to this day, that's the only VHS movie I ever bought, brand new. I should have known. I bought it for $1 at Walmart. I was so surprised to see it there, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this because it's got Mark Hamill in it, Bill Paxton, And I get it home and put it in the VCR for the very first time, and it is like somebody took a camcorder and recorded the TV with the camcorder. It was But luckily, since then, though, I have gotten it on on a DVD format, but I've not watched it that way.
Yeah, I have it on one of those like 20 movies in one collection kind of things on
Yeah.
DVD, and I haven't watched it either.
Well,
I need to bring back your VHS copy. I've got it, but I never got around to watching that one either. So, because I don't know if I have a functioning VCR, I just don't know if it's hooked up to everything at the moment.
Yeah, when it comes to VHSs, I'll probably keep that one just because it's got Mark Hamill and Bill Paxton. It's just so weird. But we need to do a review on it at some point. We need to actually watch it and actually do a full-on review because what I've noticed, at least when it comes to doing movie reviews, the trashier the movie, the stupider, the just crappy. I mean, that's like when I watched Velocipaster, the movie review, and that's what got me interested in watching it because it was just such a terrible movie, and it was worth the watch after that. And I think I think a lot of those movies have an enjoyable factor to them, not because they're good, but because they're so terrible.
Oh, you mean like probably just about everything put out by Troma Studios? Ever tell you I met Lloyd Kaufman once?
I wouldn't be surprised.
He was at GenCon, and I was going to go to like a seminar that they had, and I'm sitting there at the booth, and it took me a second, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're Lloyd Kaufman, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I thought so." That's about the extent of the conversation, because I've been asking him questions about the thing, and he was just kind of like, "Yeah, some asshole's going to be putting that on," and I was like, "Wait a minute, it's you."
That's funny. Because he was actually on one episode of the Angry Video Game.
Yeah, I've seen it doing the review for the Toxic Avenger video game.
Yes, where he also ends up taking a dump on on the copy of the video game. Good stuff. But no, I'm just curious though if there was any truth to that or why that even.
Yeah, I would think that before they're like, if it's truly lost, I would think they wouldn't release the trailer. I would have to believe because it just came out, and those articles came out like a week ago.
I know, but it just makes you wonder why. And I just wonder if it's just not somebody that's just like, I don't want this movie to come out. I'm gonna.
Maybe.
Because one thing and again, it came with that lost media stuff. is a lot of it, what like a lot of lost video game media is because it never existed. But what video game magazines would do is they would put out sensational articles to get people to read and look into it, but they were for nothing because the one that was mentioned specifically was Super Kid Icarus. That there's multiple articles about a 32, or a 24, well, a 16-bit, if I can get it right. Those two numbers actually came up in there because they were going to be a 24 meg cartridge or a 32 megabyte cartridge. So, but yeah, there was never ever mentioned. Nintendo Power never mentioned it, but it was all these other game magazines talked about that they saw it at like some game, some game show or whatever, like a vendor show or whatever. And no, it never existed.
Vaporware, eh? Or nothingware.
Well, Vaporware's right. Speaking of which, there was a Vaporware game you could buy for PC. Another YouTuber that I watched did this review on it. It literally comes in all the packaging, has the manual and all that. But when you got the floppy disk, it was just a sleeve for the floppy disk.
Oh my god!
And I think even in the instructions, it probably stated that there's no floppy disk to enter in. It's just you'll get one maybe, kind of thing. So.
Oh man.
But anyways.
Yeah. So the only thing on movie news is, like I said, I watched Bride of Reanimator the other day. First time seeing it. I thought it was a quality movie if you liked Reanimator. So I actually watched the third one before I watched the first and second one. I watched the first one like 8-9 years ago, and only just now got around to watching this one. So it's quality stuff. I should have written down some of the quotes as I was watching the movie, but it's pretty good. Have you seen any of them?
No, I mean I've seen snippets of the movies, but no, I've never.
Yes, like the whole deal is Jeffrey Combs' character plays Dr. Herbert West, who I believe is a character from Lovecraft's stuff, because this is based on one of his stories. And of course, they're at Miskatonic University. I'm surprised they didn't have a copy of the Necronomicon. But he creates a serum that can revive the dead. Problem is, there's violent psychopaths, so he keeps trying to make it so they'll be kind of what they were. And he brings a couple people back that still have their memories and everything. But the problem is, he brought a guy back in the first movie, or at least his head anyway, and he gets reanimated again and can telepathically control the others. So he's using to try to kill Dr. West. And he has this other guy stitch bat wings onto his head so he can fly around.
As one does.
Yeah. So it's just like the first movie. It all builds to just the crescendo of madness and destruction at the end, where you're fighting an army of undead psychopaths and no easy way to kill them. So the third one, he's in prison. All that stuff finally caught up to him. But anyway, if you like those, if you like kind of zany but very gory movies, definitely worth a look. Plus Jeffrey Combs is good in everything. Sure, it's not one of his 3, 4 Star Trek characters. I don't remember how many he plays. It's a lot. Because I know for sure he plays Wayoon.
Yes.
Which is technically 800 different characters because they're all clones. But and then he also plays the main Andorian in Enterprise.
Yep.
And I think he plays a couple other characters here and there. But yeah. Yeah, he's quality. But anyway, the book news. I have finished the latest Dragonlance novel, so sometime in the next week or two, look for a review on that. In brief, Weiss and Hickman are in top form. It's pretty good. I'll give the details in the other review, though. And I took some notes because it had a few, and I'll do this cover this in the review. But it had a few ideas that I'm definitely going to steal, borrow, pay homage to, how you want to look at it, in our D&D campaign if it ever gets back on track. Also, I mentioned before that I'm a big X-Men fan as far as comics. I'm still literally a year behind on reading those, though. I literally have a stack this tall at this point. Because I know about a third of the way into it is this really terrible crossover that I'm going to have to read my way through it. But anyway, So I've been looking for other comics to try to buy to like get me back in the mood to start trying to read through the X-Men. And I came across one in someone else's video called Worldtree. It's spelled kind of funky though. And I've only got the first issue so far. My comic store has the like next four on order, and then I'm supposed to be subscribed past that. Uh, but it's written by the guy who also does another comic called Something is Killing the Children, which my friend Chris is a big fan of, and it's apparently a pretty popular book. So this one is about a group of people who, back in the 90s, discovered something apparently quite malevolent on the early internet, and they thought they were able to ultimately destroy it because they realized what it was trying to do. And now it's definitely back in the modern day, and yeah, it's a problem. So that's about as far as I've gotten so far. Just a little note for any of you that journey out there, like, man, I'm going to buy this. There is like total full frontal nudity in several scenes in this book, so just fair warning. It is not a Marvel comic. So, but it's good so far. It's after I read the first issue, it's like I'm glad I ordered the others. Like this looks like it's going places. Hopefully, not going to steal the idea I had for a book, but we'll see. So that's about it on the book front. Gaming. I've got something brief here, and then Jim has something he wants to get into.
Yep.
So we've mentioned the thieves at GenCon who stole something like $300,000 worth of cards, which I think have been confirmed to be Magic the Gathering cards. Well, the people that allegedly did it, and I have to use allegedly very loosely now because evidence is mounting, but they haven't been convicted in court of law, so you
got to say allegedly until
they have been charged, and it is, I believe, felony level theft. But one of the elements, then there are two game designers from New York, and we kind of joked about, well, man, it would have been easy to spot them because their badges. Well, apparently, I think the names on their badges in the picture are wrong. Because one of the things that I've found out is they changed the names their badges were under like a week before the show.
So were they planning this?
I've got the feeling that they were. Like that's what it kind of looks like. Because that's be the only reason to do that, right?
Yeah.
Or I suppose there could be other reasons, but that's the main reason I could think of. Because they're not. It'd be one thing like if they were known by name and they just didn't want to be disturbed walking around the dealer's hall, I could see doing that. Although I'm pretty sure that's quite against the Gen Con terms of service. But anyway, one of the other interesting elements is I mentioned the cards worth about $300,000. They sold, I think, all of them to one person for like $4,000.
I'm assuming that guy had to give them back.
Yeah, and he's probably also out $4,000. And I think if I understood correctly, he was one of the people that like, hey guys, I think I found your missing cards. I bought them from these guys. Maybe they're the ones who took them. So
yeah, well, maybe that company will be at least nice enough to give them $4,000 worth of cards.
Maybe, and I think it was stolen from a normal like game store that had a booth. You know, it wasn't like Wizards of the Coast or something. And I think they're somewhere in Illinois, right? Because people have said who it was, and I don't remember who it is off the top of my head. But so yeah, so it appears that potentially the suspects have been charged. The alleged suspects have been charged. It is felony theft, and we still have all the other little bizarro elements. This is all going to make for a documentary or a board game or a comic book or something in like the next 5 years. I guarantee it. If nothing else, we'll write it. Okay, so Jim, that's what I had for gaming. You said you had something.
Oh yes. So I was watching a doc or a lost media thing. So I mentioned a couple of stories here where they were talking about games that never existed, but how magazines would do that. Well, and this is something I've never seen, but I guess so. There were a couple companies out there. Funko was one, but there was another one that did the same thing where they would have like an article, an advertisement where they would say, here's a price that we're selling used games for, and this is how much we'll buy your used games for. So it would give you the two columns, and there's one for this one company and one for Funko that they had pretty much the exact same thing. They just had different prices for their games. But one of the games on there was a game for the NES, supposedly called Yeah Yeah Beavis 1.
Okay.
It never exists. There's no such game.
I've never heard of it, but there's all kinds of games I haven't heard of.
So, yeah, the mystery is like, what the hell is Yeah Yeah Beavis? And one of the speculations that, at least this one guy was talking about, was that that the one company did it to see if another company was copying what they were doing. They're copying like their list of games.
Okay.
Now they're like, well, but why would you do that? I mean, it's a list of used games. It's not like if somebody else is doing the same thing you're doing, who cares if they have the same list of games? They weren't the same price.
Yeah,
but
I mean, in that light, it does seem kind of bizarre and or petty, but
no, it's in two different advertisements for two different set companies. Both of them had a game called Yeah Yeah Beavis.
That's just weird.
So that was some interesting stuff. But I was watching that, watching some history on video game creepypastas, which are just people trying to make creepy games. Like take like a copy of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time had one called Been Drowned, where supposedly a person bought a copy of the Ocarina of Time that didn't have a label on it. It was just a blank cartridge or whatever, or like no label on the cartridge. And when they put it in, there was a game called Ben, and he wanted to start his own new game, so he like deleted it. But then when he turned his console back on, it had Ben Drowned was now on there, and when you played Ben Drowned's game, it like all the characters were all messed up, and the masked salesman was even creepier in Majora's Mask. Oh, sorry, this was Majora's Mask because it had the masked salesman in it. So sorry, it was one of those games. But anyways,
I was waiting for you to tell me it's like The Ring, where like if you play it, then you drown or something.
No, it just the game kept getting creepier and creepier. But it's just a ROM hack or whatever that somebody had put together. So
yeah,
that was it. Those are interesting. But no, I mean, yeah, that's about all I have on gaming. Yeah.
I'm saying like I said I think I said this while we were recording, not before, but I did. That's why we're recording. I came across a bunch of manuals the other day.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll, if there's any interest, let me know in the comments. We'll show them in a video. I mean, I don't know what there'd be interesting in them. It's mainly just black and white text on how to install the game, but like some of them have pictures, in-game footage, and everything. But we can at least show you what like we were talking about with this to kind of give you an idea what all used to come with these things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got to find it, but I've got my Return to Zorik, and I still have all of the collectibles that came with that. Which, like I said, we could probably do that on an unboxing thing. But speaking of VHS, I do want to do a video sometime on my VHS collection of Star Wars, the original series. I'm pretty sure I don't have them all, but I have at least 6 to 7 full sets of movies.
I have 3. I've got the ones I recorded from renting VHS tapes.
I have one copy of that somewhere, but
and then I have, which is nice because like Star Wars and Empire on the same tape, so you just get to the end credits and Empire starts up. But I got to put in a different tape for Return of the Jedi for some reason. Then I have my box set of the unaltered original editions. And then I have the first special editions. So I think I'm cool with the first special editions. It's the more recent one. They screwed up the end of Return of the Jedi, in my opinion. We don't need Vader's no, like it's completely unnecessary. Like the musical cues are all there. Like the moment he's saying that, the Emperor would be like to him instead, because Luke's dead, basically, as far as the Emperor is concerned. He'd be like, "No, huh?" And to sort you out, light bulb.
Yeah. By the way, thanks Ben for telling me that I can block forest lighting with my lightsaber.
Yeah.
Ben's over there on Dagobah's log. He's like, I was gonna tell him something.
I forgot.
He's like, too bad I wasn't a Force ghost where I could go and tell him that.
Yeah, Yoda's sitting there. But Ben, Force Ghost, you are. Go, you can.
No,
Go, you should. Tell him to block lightning. You should. That's all right.
I think it would have been funny to be able to.
He just needs to distract him long enough for the Death Star to get blown up. We're cool.
See, why didn't he just go and distract the Emperor? I mean, what's the Emperor going to do to him? Well, actually, the Emperor probably could do something to a Force Ghost.
Probably.
Um, though the Emperor was powerless against IG-88, shutting doors on him.
Yeah, that's different. That's a ghost in the machine.
Yeah, technically, supposedly, if you know who IG-88 is, he was one of the bounty hunters, and it was in Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah,
he was one.
Yeah, he's the really tall looking one, like a cylinder head.
Yes,
we've seen some like him in The Mandalorian.
But supposedly, at some point, he uploaded himself into the Death Star targeting computer. But as part of being part of the Death Star, he also just wanted to prank the crap out of the Emperor for some reason, was shutting doors on him. And
yeah, well, I think it was he opened the doors and was surprised that they could shut again because like the Emperor like force shut them or something, and IG-88 is like, what the hell's going on here? You know, as I understand it, I haven't actually read the story, but
yeah,
yeah. So then on to streaming. I've actually watched the first couple episodes of the live action One Piece on Netflix. It's entertaining so far. I've never watched the anime, so I have no idea how accurate it is. But like, whoever made this definitely just like embraced the crazy, and I think that's why it's working. So,
well, I think that's the thing, is that you have to just go all out and just be like, this is. That's like when Dragon Ball Evolution's a reason where they tried to make something more reasonable and it looks stupid. Like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and throw the capsule vehicles in there, but everything else is gonna be, grounded in reality. And like, it doesn't work. I've seen fan videos where they've done a hell of a lot better job making those types of movies or shows or whatever. Now, if they're gonna do a pirate movie, though, they need to do a live action Pirates of Dark Water.
Well, this like I said, I've never watched the anime, but like there's parts of this I'm just watching. I'm like, what in the hell's going on here? It's like some of the characters are wearing like contemporary clothing, like t-shirts and blue jeans, which most definitely did not exist during the height of the age of sail, and yet they're on like 17th century like galleons with cannons and like flintlock pistols, and like the Marines from the world government, like that's just what it's called. They look kind of like sailors from that era, kind of. A few of them do, but like it's just bizarre. Like the things that are mishmashed here. Again, I've never watched the anime, so I was assuming they are there from the artwork. It looks like I think they are. But like the characters look like anime characters made into live action. The crazy hair color, crazy hair designs. The main characters like Mr. Fantastic, basically. Which I did not know going into this.
Well, and the thing I never understood about the show is that if you could eat a fruit and get superpowers, why isn't everybody doing that?
Well, I think they're really rare.
Okay.
Because in this one, I didn't realize what the thing was, and whenever the pirate that he took it from is unloading all the treasure, there's one little box, and he's like, "This is worth more than all the rest of this," and that's what the fruit was in. So I think they're exceptionally rare and very, very valuable. Plus, I think they're called demon fruit. And like after he ate it, the woman told him like, the thing is by eating it, like you've made a deal of some kind.
Yeah, you can't. He can never swim.
Yeah, so
which is very bad if you're going to be on the open water.
Yeah, like in the second episode, one guy takes advantage of that. Like knocks him unconscious, puts him in a tank, starts filling it full of seawater. It's like, yeah, it's a shame you got those powers, but they're not going to do a damn thing for you in here. It's like the thing; it's just seawater. But yeah, and we've seen a couple other. I'm in the middle of like the third episode, and up to this point, we've seen a couple other people with powers. And like I said, it's been interesting. The character's been kind of compelling. There's definitely some mysteries. There's definitely going to be some double crosses here because these are pirates and thieves. And Luffy's like a weird pirate who's all like, "Well, we're not going to be stealing stuff." Because like under the point they're trying to get a boat, and they're like, "Well, what do you think we're going to do?" And the thief's like, "We're just going to steal one." Obviously, he's like, "No, we're not going to steal it." She's like, "What kind of pirate are you?"
The Disney type of pirates. There's that kids show that the Neverland Pirates is a little kids show, and one of their things is that we're pirates and we never, stealing someone else's property is wrong. And it's like, you're pirates.
Yeah, but the other thing is like all the other pirates are the other kind. They're like, pillage and plunder, and like this one they run across in the second episode has literally like enslaved this town after destroying it. So he uses them as like an audience.
So why does he want to be king of the pirates if he's not going to be a pirate?
I don't know. Well, it's part of it's because it shows like flashbacks to him when he was a kid, right around the time he ate the fruit. And this guy here looks up to is a pirate, but he seems to be a very similar to what he's trying to be kind of pirate. Like you never see him like out marauding, and he actually like helps people and stuff. So I think it's he grew up on the street. He saw this guy as an example and wants to be like him, wants to be better than him, and so. That's also why he's really protective of the hat, because the guy gave him the hat. Whenever he did, he said, "This is the most valuable thing I own." And I don't know if he meant that or if he's just like trying to tell the kids so he'd think it's important. Like I said, I'm only on like the middle of the third episode. So.
I don't know why this was making me think of it, but I guess in old naval combat, flying a false flag is like against war is a war crime.
Yeah.
But you can do it, but before you attack, you have to pull down that flag and raise up your actual flag before you can attack for it to not be a war crime. There's nothing wrong with doing it if you're just sailing through, if you're using it just to sail through. But as soon as you're like, okay, I'm going to...
because it's impersonating another country.
Yeah, so... And I guess what the Germans would do is they would take like regular like freighter craft and they would put guns all over them. And they would sink. There's one where they sunk this British cruiser that should have easily, taken it out, but flying the false flag, acted like they were ignorant when they were trying to communicate with them because they purposely were using flag signals, but signaling improperly and all this stuff to draw them in close.
Yeah,
because cruisers do not. They're meant for long. They were meant for a long range kind of combat, not right up close.
Yeah.
So as soon as they get up close, it's and there comes down the flag, and there goes up the other one, and then they just dropped open all the. They just had like these panels that would just flop down, and then they just unload into them. I think pirates actually kind of did the same thing. That's why a lot of times in pirate movies you'd see them.
They wait till they're close before they hoist the Jolly Roger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For the kind of the same reason. It's just
yeah.
funny.
Well, I mean, just think about it. Are you really going to sail with the
Jolly Roger.
the Jolly Roger up there? Like, sir, I think they're pirates. What do you? Well, I mean, maybe they're not, but like, would you pretend to be a pirate when you weren't?
Yeah, and they weren't really impersonating because they could be their country of origin. They could be like, "Oh, I'm flying the British flag." Oh yeah, but I'm actually a pirate from here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you were like, who was it, Sir Francis Drake? I think he was a privateer, a legal pirate, essentially. So, but I mean, that's kind of like a Die Hard versus Die Hard. Like, if you think about it, they're thieves, but their cover story is being terrorists. Like, you're pretending to be something way worse than you are. Like, I know, like, for the plot of the movie, they needed that for, like, the reaction from the FBI and everything, but, like, if you think about it, like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you get caught, like, you're toast. Like, if you watch the movie, there's at least two of the terrorists that survive. There's the black guy who's their computer guy, because he just gets knocked out by the limo driver. He's down there in the basement because he's trying to get out in the limousine. And there's a third guy in the vault at the very end. And whenever McClane comes in, he just knocks him out before he shoots Hans and the other guy. So those two guys who are like bit players in the whole scheme, like the whole weight of everything's going to come down on them.
Speaking of that, say for the Christmas time, we need to get the countdown calendar from Die Hard, the Nakatomi Plaza countdown calendar where you put Hans starting up on day one and then Christmas he's on the ground.
Wow. I've not seen that. I keep seeing this one ornament that I need to buy. It's McClane in the pipe,
Yeah. Yeah. And the duck that somehow is all people size.
Yeah.
Even though I do give them credit, that one is at least...
Well, that one would have been, because it was coming off the central duct. It wasn't like the ones like running above the offices.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it was just barely big
Yeah.
enough for him to crawl through, which in a building that big, you would have pipes that large to move
Yeah.
that kind of air.
Yeah, because there's an episode of Burn Notice. You ever watch that?
No.
It was on USA about like 2006 or so, and so it's this former CIA agent who got burned. So now he's got to like lay low in, I think it's Miami. So the only thing he can do is basically take like cash jobs from people because like all his accounts are frozen and everything. So there's one where he has to like steal something from an office building, and so he always does this he talks the audience through what's going to happen basically. And so he's like looking at the ducks, and he's like, "Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like you've seen a bunch of movies. Like those ducks are about this big and cannot hold the weight of a human being, even if I could get into them." So it's like, "No, I'm not crawling through those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pump this gas through those, and it's the gas that they combine with natural gas to give it a scent, because natural gas doesn't have a scent that we can detect. So it's a chemical they put into it. So people equate it to natural gas, so they think it's a gas leak, and that was his plan. But just the whole like, yeah, no, like movies are stupid. You can't crawl through those things.
Well, that's just like again last podcast. I was talking about the movie I watched was Mission Impossible 2, and I mean the one guy's like, oh, he's gonna find the most overtop way to get into this building, and he's like he's not gonna go in the front door. He's like he's gonna do something whatever, and it's like where he's like hooked to a helicopter, which nobody's gonna notice a helicopter hovering above the building as he jumps down.
Yeah, no one ever notices a hovering helicopter.
And then that there's some particular alarm that if the vents are held open for too long, that it's going to send off an alarm and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, fun stuff.
So yeah, the other thing I've got is this was the title of someone else's video. So apologies because I don't have the. I'll probably try to link it because I really just took the title. I didn't really watch the thing, but this is for Ahsoka. Carson Teva, who is that one X-wing pilot that's in all these shows, just maybe the one man holding the whole Republic together at this point.
He's the only pilot in the Republic.
Yeah, because this guy is everywhere, as we've stated already. But like, this just shouldn't be a thing, and it's one of the ways in which this is going to be a little bit of a rant here, folks. It's one of the ways in which the Star Wars universe is made to feel small. Like, there's just no possibility this one man should be involved in all these things. Okay? It's one thing if it's like Luke Skywalker. Okay, and the Force is guiding him to these various places. Okay, fair enough. It strains credulity, but we're talking a mystical energy field that guides fate. Whatever. This is a guy that's supposed to be patrolling like some chunk of space in the Star Wars galaxy.
But with Luke again, he's the main character, and he's putting himself in those. We're following him,
right?
We're not following,
right? We're not, at least not yet. I'm all for Carson Teva getting his own show. I like the actor, I like the guy. I like the whole like the New Republic's like, yeah, sure, this 60-year-old guy's gonna fly an X-wing for us. Why not? And like look at him in his flight suit. Like he's not in good shape, but whatever. He's a space pilot. Worked fine for Porkins up to the end. But
they've done Porkins wrong.
No, they haven't. If you ever read the EU, like all of the time, they mention him all the time in the X-wing books. The old EU, they'll ramble off the names of the people that died on the Death Star run on Yavin, and they'll only name like 2 or 3, and one of them's always Porkins. And finally, in one book, Wedge is like, "Yeah, he used the gravity compensators way too much, though," which was a really nice way of saying that fat bastard. But yeah, no, it just makes everything feel small whenever you have the same feel like background characters everywhere. Like take the Indiana Jones movies. Okay, now it's only one planet, but it's for the most part in the 30s. When you can hop on a plane, but it takes a while to get there, or a ship takes a while to get there. Does he run into Sala in India in the Temple of Doom? No, because Sala's not in India. Sala's in Egypt. Egypt is not India. Like, he's not just trotting the globe with Indy. Maybe on some adventures we haven't seen he did, and that's the implication I got in the latest one, Dial of Destiny. But like even there, he's in New York because he moved to New York. You know, that's why we see him in the movies we see him in, but not the Temple of Doom. And that's why I'm assuming we don't see Short Round in the others, which kind of sucks. That's Indy's real son.
Yeah,
Forgetting that, we should have brought back Short Round.
yeah. The only way that it would have made sense is if they had established in like the Mandalorian that he was part of General what's her face, Hera. That he was always a part of her.
Yeah,
And maybe they did make a mention where he's like General Syndulla is going to be.
yeah, or maybe he was supposed to have a part in the Rangers show that we're not going to get. Where he would have been assigned to Hera Dune's stuff, and then it would have made sense to be in all the hot spots.
And that's it's kind of unfortunate because I like Cara Dune as a character. I mean, she was kind of blah, but I mean,
yeah, I mean, it sucks we're not getting it because it would have been interesting, and even if they have a problem with Gina Carano, like they could have easily still made a show. You just mention her in the background, say that she's kind of over things, and just go with it because that's what they're going to do with Leia. Like when they mentioned Senator Organa here in Ahsoka, like I have incredible doubt that we're going to see like a posthumous Leia scene in this movie.
If they do, it's going to be a hologram.
Yeah, it's going to be a hologram, and it's probably going to be who played her in the end scene in Rogue One, just aged up a little bit.
Her daughter?
Is that her daughter?
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it'll probably be her, aged up a little bit. It'll be like you said, it'll be a hologram, But no, it just like I said, it just makes everything feel small, and you get a little bit of it in the original trilogy with, well, let's go back to Tatooine, like Jabba couldn't have been on some other planet.
Well, but it made sense though once they added the scene back in that Jabba was always there, and that
yeah. I mean, in that respect, yes, it does, and more so once we get to the prequels, where obviously he's the one there at the race and everything. But it just makes things feel small when you've got literally millions or billions of planets, and we just go back to the same one. Like come on, like go to Jakku. It's a different desert planet. Well, not yet, but not at that point in time. Because I think it's not till after the big final battle of ultimate destiny that it becomes a desert planet. But yeah, that's and like I said, I like the guy. I think the actor's okay. He seems to have a good repartee with everyone. And the other downside is if this show follows any kind of logic, like his goose is cooked with the New Republic. Like Hera should be okay taking her own ship to go somewhere. Those guys willingly just left. Those aren't their X-Wings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the whole problem is that they're trying to...
The problem is they're idiots.
Well, I would say the problem with the whole show right now is that they're trying to drive a plot, but not in a way that makes any sense. Because they realize that if they said, "Oh, we found out where all those stolen hyperdrives are going. It's going to this, giant rain that they're going to supposedly to fly to where we think Thrawn's going to be." Everything I've said is lined up. They're trying to, we said they're trying to get Thrawn back. They're trying to use these hyperdrives to do that. This is the giant hyperdrive ring that's big enough to fit a Star Destroyer in.
Right, and that's kind of the other thing is, even if as a general she doesn't have the pull, shouldn't she have the, hey, I fought for the rebellion since before the Death Star was completed. Doesn't my word count for anything? Can't you just take it on faith that I'm not lying to you?
And plus, what would have been the harm to say, okay, do like we used to do in the rebellion, take a small squadron and just go and look.
Yeah, well, they'll burn too much hyperfuel.
Then take her own ship.
That was a joke. I think the whole hyperfuel thing, well, logically something like that has to exist. Like the way it was structured in Solo is just stupid. And especially The Last Jedi. That stuff should be so plentiful it's not even funny. Because how'd the rebellion even function if it's that hard to get a hold of? You know what I mean? So it's not hyperfuel is not a stupid idea in and of itself, because logically the ships have to run on something. And even if you watch A New Hope, before the X-Wings leave Yavin 4, there's what is obviously fuel lines running into them, when screwed into the wings.
Well,
the fact they have fuel isn't a problem. It's just how they've gone about kind of representing it in the movies. And
Well, and the thing is that because they turned Kessel into that instead of the spice mines of Kessel, right?
yeah, well, I think they're still the spice mines though. I think they have both.
Okay. And I mean, I don't get me wrong. I can see fuel being, I mean, we had people that steal gasoline, but it's not like you just rob Fort Knox.
Right, like they steal it for like their car, not for like 50 tanks to go somewhere and attack somebody.
Well, there was the one Fast and the Furious where they stole the fuel truck. Where then they hook it up to like a pickup, like to a
Yeah, they're in the opening.
yeah. Yeah. By the way, that's where I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Buick Grand National in the beginning of that movie, but that still pissed me off that they like destroyed that black car that Dom was driving because
Yeah.
I'd love to have one of those and seeing somebody just destroy it. That's like the Dukes of Hazzard, just the amount of cars that
Yeah,
they just.
wasn't it? It's something ungodly, right? Like hundreds.
It's hundred. Yeah, it was like a couple hundred of them that they destroyed. Now they weren't all the souped up models. Some of them were just plain models, probably with the V6 engine in them
Yeah.
that they just
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know you're going to use it for a stunt that's going to destroy it, you're not going to use the expensive one.
no. So, but still, it's like the money and cars that they have, and I mean,
There's
especially
just one of the lines in Detroit's just pumping out cars for that show.
yeah. Well, right now the used car market is ridiculous, and especially in collectors' cars.
Oh yeah, well I talk to Chris about it sometimes because he sells cars, and like some of the stuff he tells me, like I think if I recall correctly from the last time I talked to him, there's some features in cars they're still having trouble getting the cars in with all the features because of the chip problem.
That doesn't surprise me, but I like right now, like buying a pickup truck. In the past, you could get a new truck for 40,000, and now they're 60 to 80,000.
Yeah,
And I mean that's a new car, but I mean even like used cars are having the same thing. Like hell, I'm just trying to own a car because I want to trade or get rid of my the Saab that I have just because it keeps having problems and trying to find parts for it. The Saab's been dissolved, and even GM can't. Like none of the GM dealers around here can service it because they don't have the security software to do it. So just trying to find him a used car and like $4,500 for a 10-year-old car that has 160,000 miles on it. And I'm just like, what? Like, where are the $2,000 cars that you could get just so that if they wreck it, you're like, oh, well, I guess it's $2,000 kind of thing.
yeah,
But
those don't exist
no,
anymore.
they don't. At least not in this economy. So
Yeah, no, it's a big issue.
I'm just waiting for zombie movies to make a comeback. Or not zombie, vampire movies.
No, it'll be zombie movies because it's bad.
I know, but I'm waiting for vampire movies to come back.
Oh, well,
No, I'm waiting for the economy to come back around. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Bobby had stated that when the economy is doing good, vampire movies are popular, and when the economy is bad, it's zombie movies.
yeah, that was a thing I read a few years ago, kind of talking about that, and I'm sure it's one of those like it only roughly charts to that. We'll see because I think it's been a while since we've seen a good zombie movie. I'm trying to think what the actual like last theatrically released one would have been. Like I'm sure there have been some, but there's not a lot of them like I would expect.
So that's probably why the last voyage of Demeter didn't do as well because the economy wasn't right for it.
Probably, yeah. Probably Renfield too.
Because well, not Renfield, but that movie supposedly, the last voyage, got decent reviews from what I saw.
Yeah, I thought both movies were decent movies. We went to go watch Renfield, and we did Sarah and I went to go watch Last Voyage of the Demeter, and like I thought they were both okay. Both worthwhile seeing. Uh, but apparently everyone wants to go see Barbie, so whatever.
Well, I don't know. I wish that we would have a renaissance in movies again. We need to have that. I know that we can't quite go back to you're not going to get a Tropic Thunder. It's not going to happen. But
I not from a mainstream movie. Like you could still see that from an indie studio, and it could really like catch on if it's allowed to be put anywhere.
But I mean, like you're like Big Trouble in Little China. I don't say we need a remake, but we need movies like that. We need a movie that is just a fun sit down watch. There is no message to be given. It's just a story that wants to be told. It tells a story. It tells it well, and that's it. And don't go for a $1 billion that you have to get in the theaters for it to turn a profit.
Yeah, did you watch that video I sent about the Star Wars movies?
Yes.
Yeah, now we'd have to go over the math these people use, but apparently the five Disney Star Wars movies cost an absolutely insane amount of money to make because they produced four of the five or all five, and they produced them partially in England because you get tax credits. Well, the problem for them is you have to report the entire cost of the movie to the authorities there in England. Whenever you do this, you make another production company. You don't do it under like Disney. And people figured out what the production companies were called, so they're able to get the tax records. And these movies have budgets way higher than what they were publicly reported as. Now, that's the slightly questionable part because there's not just the conversion, but I think they also adjusted for inflation, which is very questionable right now, particularly. But even without doing that, it's still higher than what they reported. And their overarching point was, well, they spent $4.5 billion to acquire Star Wars, well, all of Lucasfilm, and they haven't even put a dent in paying that down yet because they maybe, and I stress maybe, have broken even on the movies. And you don't spend billions of dollars to break even. That's before you get into spending $1 billion on the Galaxy Cruiser that they just totally shut down.
Yeah.
Another billion at each of the theme parks for things that have basically been shut down. That's all money that has not been spent, not been recouped.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that they said that if they just had
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
bought the rights, and then just sat on it,
yeah.
the residuals would have.
Well, no, their point there wasn't that they were going to make more money; it's they would have lost less money because once you start factoring in the theme parks, factoring in the fact that toys presently aren't selling nearly as well, or at least the ones based on their movies aren't,
No.
and a few other things, like they're definitely way in the red. Whereas had they just bought it and just sat on it, they would have only been in the red for the expense of the movies, and then they would have slowly started getting money back just by airing the movies on TV or something, or releasing them from the vault on Blu-ray, whatever, and just making toys based on the six movies Lucas made, and just not smashing the EU.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like if you go to bookstores, what are the books that are just clogging up the shelves? It's the new crap. Meanwhile, the EU books are selling, because people liked them. So that's the pickle Disney finds themselves in. Is the things they have made just have not scored well. Like they seem to have a good thing with the first two seasons of Mandalorian. Then they kind of dropped the ball in the third season. Andor gets high critical praise, and I think it's great. But not a lot of people have watched it. And then Ahsoka so far isn't being compared to Mandalorian season 3, so at least it's got that going for it. And then of their movies, it seems like a lot of people like Rogue One. Some people like Solo. Some people like The Force Awakens. But then the other two just do not have a big fan following at all. And that's bad.
No.
Because like somehow movie 9, the wrap up of the Skywalker saga, like what at one point in time was the biggest thing in movies, somehow underperformed. Like that's all you need to know as far as how much of a trash heap they made. The dumpster fire, I should say.
Yeah, and like I said, there was an article that supposedly that Disney only has like 200 million in liquid assets.
Yeah, they're in a bind because of the Comstar thing. Comstar, no, that's BattleTech. Hulu with Comcast, I think, because whenever they bought Fox, that gave them another third of control of Hulu. But part of the deal was they were going to have to buy the remaining third because the other company wasn't just going to play second banana to Disney. And the other company's like, all right, time to buy. And Disney's like, all right, we'll give you like $8 billion. And they're like, yeah, more like 28 billion. And Disney's like, whoa, no, I don't think so. So that's going to arbitration. But if it's anywhere even close to the halfway point, Disney doesn't have that money laying around.
No.
They'll have to borrow it.
They'll have to buy a company and then sell the company as asset.
Yeah.
I say that because that's what happened to Toys R Us. I mean,
yeah, they'll buy a company, take out a bunch of loans through that company, and then be like, oh, the company's bankrupt. Where'd all that money go? And then like a totally unrelated story. We have the money to buy that company now.
yeah, because that's well,
No, that's exactly what happened to Toys R Us and Kaybee Toys. The same company did it to both of them.
And honestly, I mean,
I don't have the slightest clue how that's even legal. Like, if you buy a company, now it's part of your larger company, and you take out debts through that company, and it goes under, don't the debts go to where the cash went?
you'd think,
But apparently they don't, in which case, why aren't we all doing this? Like, yeah, sure, it's insanely unethical, but if it's legal and apparently there's no consequences for it, like, how does it not happen far more frequently? Which tells me there's got to be something else to it, or maybe it's not. Maybe just other people actually do have standards. But someone was actually going to try to bring back AB Toys.
well, they also brought back, I think, Toys R Us as an online presence.
Yeah,
But
which is ironic because one of the big problems was they never actually really completed the transition to having a decent online presence. And that's one of the reasons why their stores went under. One of the reasons. The other is because, similar to shopping malls, where did you build Toys R Us? You built them where there's traffic. Well, now those spots are sitting on are very valuable land. So you got your constant property taxes on them. You're possibly renting the building, which the rent's going to keep going up because the property value keeps going up. And eventually you just can't keep them open. But then where are you going to put them? You're not going to put them where there's less traffic. That's not going to help anything. So, yeah, that's a whole mess there with the shopping malls. Like I don't understand how they don't work, because like if I lived in a city, and you could tell me like you go to this one building, most of what you're looking to buy is going to be in here, and you have choices. It's not just Walmart. Like you've got some variety, some choices.
well, and
Like why would I not? Why would I go to Amazon when I go there? Now, obviously, Amazon's cheaper, and there's probably some things I can't find in there, but I'm going to get this in 5 minutes.
and this is where the movie WALL-E really failed at how the future is going to end, and that's because if you ever seen the Disney movie WALL-E,
I actually haven't. But keep going. I know that humanity ends up just being like fat slobs on hover chairs, but
it does. But the Earth has been overrun with trash. Everything's owned by one company called B&L, and you actually see B&L in other movies like Toy Story. There's one part where they're putting batteries into Buzz. Buzz Lightyear, not Buzz the vibrator or anything like that. You don't know. But they were putting batteries.
They didn't go to Walmart.
But they were B&L batteries by and large. And in one shot, WALL-E's following this other robot around that's scanning the Earth, trying to look for plant life to see if the Earth is inhabitable again. And they're in one of these B&L by and large stores, and the store is gigantic. It's like a mile across, and
Like the Costco and Idiocracy.
yes, it's exactly like that, and that's not where the future is going to be going, because right now, one of the shows, I've watched a few of them on YouTube, is the Dead Mall series, where malls are they're going out because people are starting to become the humans that were in space, where they can just sit in their hover chair, and they even show like a section where you see each captain that's on the that's been the captain of the Axiom, which is the ship that WALL-E gets drug onto. And each captain gets progressively fatter. So it's like first it's like a normal guy, then it's a kind of a little bit heavier, and then it's just they're so big that they can barely walk. Like the one captain has to try to walk, and he has to like almost like learn how to do it, kind of thing. But that's the kind of society we're going to, where pretty much everything's just you order everything and everything's just sent to you, um, and that's why malls are dying. And it doesn't make sense to me because clothing is one of the few things where not one company has a similar size clothing.
Yeah,
Like
I buy my shirts online, but I don't buy jeans online. Like I've got to try them on.
well, even shirts are a crapshoot. But shirts are usually a little bit better because you can get them a little bit bigger and it's fine. But I've got two boys and trying to buy pants for them
Oh,
when one of them doesn't have a waist at all is you have to go into a place and you have to try those things on. Um, I think Walmart has honestly the right approach with their grocery pickup the way they do that because you're using pretty much your stores as a distribution center where people can still go in and buy stuff, but
well, I had heard this was like 2 or 3 years ago. Amazon had actually talked about opening physical stores somewhere, and I think part of the deal was that like you go to the store so you can actually see the things in person. You know that the kind of
yeah,
stuff you'd actually want to see. But while you're there, you could also just like hit up the kiosk and like order all the other crap you normally order off Amazon.
yeah. Well, and they wouldn't be bad, like especially if you could like order and have stuff shipped there. But
Well, I know we don't have this here because we're in the middle of nowhere. But when I went to GenCon Wednesday night, I got up there and ordered a new shoulder bag, and I was able to have it delivered at 4 a.m. the next morning. So like it showed up at Chris's house like at 4:30 in the morning. And so like it wasn't even like it's not even next day. It's like it'll be here in 6 hours. And I was like, sure, why not? And I don't know. I know that's obviously it's a bigger city, and that one in particular has several Amazon distribution centers in Plainfield, and I don't know if that's also part of it because I don't know, like for instance, if Evansville, if they can do that, I don't know if they can. But I know, but if they can't, I'm sure they have like definite next day on everything.
I'm still waiting for the day that we have the Amazon drone ships. So,
Well, there's like an endpoint distribution center in Washington, don't you? For them, where the Ponderosa used to be.
oh yeah. That's right.
There's a woman I worked with who she quit there and she went to work over there and she was telling me about it. And I was like, I don't know, paid more money, hours seem a little bit better. Maybe I should go over there. But yeah, so that's one of the only downsides of living out here is I have to wait 2 days for things to be shipped.
Oh darn.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Kind of like the delay because then I get stuff and I'm like, what did I order? And it's kind of like Christmas, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Or it's oh wait, Bob just had something shipped to my house.
Yes. Long story. Oh come on, cat! Don't be knocking over the tripod. Uh, we had one of our other videos and the camera shakes from the cat.
Yeah, from that. Also, one of them, the audio gets a little staticky.
It was chewing on the cable.
It happened the one time in the video, and I couldn't figure it out. But the second time, like right as it was happening, Jim was leaning over and was saying something to the cat, and I was like, "That's got to be what it is."
Cat chewing on the audio cables.
Yeah.
So, are we gonna get to our old tech here?
Oh yeah, I guess we can. Since we were going to do it last time, we got time for it this time. You know the name of the guy who does the videos. I don't.
Which videos?
The old tech video. Well, that's all right. If I can find it, I'll put a link to it because I don't want to just totally take credit for this guy's video here.
Oh, it was the it's
well, anyway, we'll put it in the description.
I think it's something Whistler. He does all sorts of like mega projects channels. He has all sorts of channels that he does, and he's bald with a longer beard. And I know that's me bald with a shorter beard, so I understand the beef Wallachie challenge. But
yeah, he had an interesting video about like actually this like wildly old tech that's still in use. Now it's wildly for a couple of these, but the oldest was definitely the steam powered because for those of you who don't know, that's basically how power plants are operated. Is like coal, natural gas, and nuclear all operate on the principle of superheating water to turn to steam to then drive turbines. And so that's a steam engine. It's just that we're splitting atoms to power it, not throwing coal, or in some cases we are throwing coal. And that's how we power things, you know?
And the problem is with, well, especially like with coal and stuff, is that the amount of energy it takes to go into, and when I say that, not just burning the coal, but getting the coal and harvesting it and doing all that, um, and then burning it and doing all that. That's why nuclear has been the way to go. Uh, because yeah, you still have to harvest the uranium or plutonium or whatever you're running your reactors on, and but once you get that, it's then just inserting or getting the rod, inserting it, whatever. It's definitely a cleaner process.
Right, and if we were to institute newer designs, we could potentially chew up the old fuel as well. So there'll be next to nothing left by the time we're done with it.
But the one tech that he mentioned that that I still deal with at work is the fax machine.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it in the video, but it's big in Japan. Like in Tokyo, I guess they're just like comforted by the hard copy and the proof that someone else has it. Because for you younger folks who've never had to deal with a fax machine, okay, well, first of all, if you don't know what it is, it's that you can feed a piece of paper into it that has writing, schematics, whatever on it, and transmit it, and a copy will print out at the other end on their fax machine. Well, the other thing they can print out is a receipt on your end that says they got it. So you have proof, and I think it's a legally binding document that says the other side definitely received this.
Yeah, and the other one is that it's way more secure than email or any internet type format because it's a phone to phone connection.
Right.
And which to me it seems like it'd be simple enough to intercept, but
and that's one of the reasons why hospitals are also the big people that use it, so that they can verify that it's been received, and so it's clear,
and
so, what you got.
And so, like the technology that we're trying to implement to go away from it, because one thing that we have in ours is they have to sign off on drawings, and the original way was that we would fax them a contract, they would sign off, they'd have the copy of the drawings, and whatever they sign off. Well, we're looking at switching to DocuSign, which does the securing and all of that, and gets the signature and all of that kind of stuff. But
well, the fax machine does open you up to one potential type of DOS attack,
where people just spam your fax machine.
Yes, with a black piece of paper, because it'll burn up all the ink in your fax machine, trying to print just a flat black page. Because they use ink, it's not thermal paper. They use ink, and so yeah. Well, because in one of my classes they talked about that. That was like one of the oldest versions of that. I don't remember which company it was, but someone was really pissed off at them, so they dialed all the fax machines in their headquarters and just spammed them with that, and it just burned through all their cartridges and everything like for a whole day and a half. And it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, the one thing that I didn't realize is how old the technology is. Because the one thing, and I knew this, but it was kind of like a re-education on it, is that fax is short for facsimile.
Yeah.
And the facsimile machine was, I believe, was in telegraph technology, where they were able to electronically send, documents over a telegraph line.
He mentioned that. I did not know that. I thought it was from I'm going to ballpark it at late 70s, but
yeah, it was way earlier than that. So it was that was interesting.
What was that? Was it Windows Vista?
No, it was XP is
XP,
one. Windows.
That's what it was.
And I can account to that because I started at the company where I work in 2011, and they still had Windows XP, and they made a transition to Windows 7 shortly after I started there. And that it's funny because Windows 7 had been out for a pretty decent amount of time when we switched, and they were like, "It's the desktop of the future," and it's like, "Oh, well, this is it." I'm waiting for my company to be like, "You can't make fun." It's not. It's funny in the sense that the technology was old. I mean, obviously, I understand companies can't just make the switch. It's not just like, oh, we'll just throw money at it. It's fine. It's infinite, you know? No, it's not. I get why they didn't make the switch right away. And I get why some companies still don't, because there are machines and different things that will not function. Again, coming back to, we talked about cars, there's a lot of car computers that will not communicate with newer systems, and they will not like make new drivers for them. So they have to have like the older computers to be able to communicate with those. But speaking of computers, the other one was floppy disk, and
Yeah.
the surprising or almost scary thing is that there are nuclear powered things, plants, even some silos. I believe that they said that ran
Well,
off.
yeah, I'm not concerned about that because,
Well, no,
I mean, we had the technology in the '60s to put a guy on the moon. You don't need anything more advanced than that
no,
to
no.
have a missile go up into space and come back down. Because at the end of the day, since we're talking about nuclear missiles, they only have to be close to the target. You know, they can be off by a couple miles and still cause the devastation you're wanting to
No,
cause.
no, and I agree with that. It's just
Plus, good luck hacking that.
you'd think that, but they it's usually mostly done for like updates and stuff like that, and the updates and the programming is just not large enough to require them to
Yeah.
switch it out, and upgrading that hardware to anything else. Like if you USB drives are the worst because, and this is just personal note out there, ordering USB drives from anywhere but a reputable source is a terrible idea.
Yeah,
And not
I've
just,
heard that. It's like fake Chinese parts are swapped in there and stuff. And
well, not only that, but they could put whatever software they want to on
yeah,
it. I mean, like hell, even us ordering our microphones, ordering the USB ones, you have to be careful because they can put malware into anything that you can plug into your computer.
yeah. I
These you don't have to worry about because this doesn't transmit any sort of data, or not that kind of data.
I want to say that I want to say I read something about that from our misadventure in Iraq, where they would be picking up supposedly enemy USB drives, and because they're thinking Intel, right? Not the company, in short for intelligence. And then they would plug them into their computers, and I guess they weren't doing the smart thing and plugging them into an isolated computer, and instead they're plugging into things that were connected to the broader DoD network. And of course, they had malware on them because
Yeah.
they weren't put there by anyone from Iraq. They were being put there from like Iran and China and Russia. Because they know we're going to pick them up, and they're just hoping that we're stupid enough just to plug them into something that's connected to everything else.
Yeah, I mean, heck, even at my job, they're doing that now. Where they're like, no, USBs are they're banning USB drives and such.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, it'll get most of it, but pretty much anything you plug into your USB drive, you could have a mouse, and somebody could be like, if they're smart enough, they could make it a drive of some sort and still have the mouse work, and
Yeah.
it's not a whatever, but no, so it makes sense why they still use floppies because I mean you're not going to have a bunch of people that are going to be able to manage that, and then the software that goes to that machine is very particular, so whoever were to try to throw a virus on it would have to be very knowledgeable in that exact system, and a lot of those are probably proprietary, so not going to happen.
Yeah. So, the other one's pagers.
Yeah,
What do you think?
pagers make sense because of after he said it, because of while it uses the a cellular type network, it doesn't use the same cellular network.
Right.
So they actually have a better range, and I guess are able to connect better or whatever. So
Yeah, because he was saying that they've actually been around longer than most people think. They've been around since, what do you say, the '60s? I want to say, because they're for doctors and hospitals. It wasn't until like the '80s ish that it caught on with like drug dealers and everyone else.
well, that's why they told us not to we couldn't have them in school. So
Yeah.
oh yeah, for some reason it just popped in my head. Simon Whistler is the name of the YouTuber. I don't know what
Okay.
channel he's on, but that is his name.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like it's just an interesting video. Just the older stuff that's still around. I knew about the nuclear missile thing from a different show talking about some holes in our nuclear arsenal preparedness, and they talked about that. How it's kind of demoralizing to the people that run them that they're using computers twice as old as they are, and that's supposedly what we're going to fight the war for. That's for all the marbles with. Meanwhile, the weapons out on the battlefield, like you got the other guys, like, yeah, I'm going to fly the super advanced drone and fire a missile at somebody with this thing that just got developed last week. Good luck, war games.
Speaking of which, I heard about a supposed drone attack that I don't know if it was Ukraine or whatever did, where they were using cardboard drones, and I guess like they're like, well, our detection system, can detect all of these other alloys, but cardboard was not one of them that they thought about ever going in and trying to
Well, I
detect.
mean, would you think of that? That'd be like if in the modern days someone busted out like a World War One biplane to do a strafing run on you. You'd just be like, the hell is going on here? Like, what are your jets going to do? They're not going to be able to engage it. They're going to fly by it at like 8 times as fast as it can go. Like that actually happened in an episode of The Simpsons. I think it's Sideshow Bob kidnapped Bart. They took off in a biplane. Like, scramble the fighter jets. And he's like, just right by the plane. Like, sir, we can't effectively engage the target. He is going too slow. So, because they're designed to fight other fighter jets, not something going 30 miles an hour. I think they fly a little bit faster than that, but hopefully you get my point.
But
I don't have Charles Lindbergh here to ask him how fast they really fly. Or the Red Baron. I'd settle for him.
I mean, as far as it goes with the old tech, now it seems like very as of recent. I mean, a lot of the videos I've done is all old tech. All of my stuff's gonna be old tech. Got too much of it.
Yeah,
Or
well,
as some people,
Jim, the stuff we're using here in 5 years will be old tech.
well,
I mean, like your camera's already a couple of years old. Like these probably are kind of old. That can't be the newest thing on Earth.
no, but I mean but
I didn't watch it, but I saw a video pop up in my feed. The end of smartphones is here, and I'm just like, I should watch this so I know what insanity they're talking about. But like, what are you claiming is replacing them?
well, that's something that's kind of lost because there was a time where you couldn't Google everything, so you had the people that just assumed they were right, and passing like video game myths and stories about Wizard of Oz had dead people hanging in the background, which turned out not to be true because I guess in the enhanced version you can actually see it's a mechanical bird.
Huh.
Uh, I, but in the lower quality, when it's a bird's head going like this,
Yeah.
looks like a body swinging from the.
Or that the movie somehow syncs up with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon album.
Yeah, like all that's.
Even though the movie is longer than the album, so I don't know how that's supposed to work. I guess you put it on repeat.
Well, I think what they said is you started at a certain point.
Oh,
I think there's a point where you would start it and then it would sync up. But no,
but if it does, it's pure coincidence.
But now you have all the technology right here on your phone to search for everything. And the problem is that it's making everyone stupid.
Because they don't think they have to remember anything.
Exactly.
It's like, hopefully Gabe's not watching this. I kind of got into an argument with him one time about math. He's like, well, I don't need to know these things because I have a calculator. I was like, no, you do need to know these things because one, you won't always have the calculator, and two, if you know them, you know how to use the calculator.
Yeah, because you'd have to know how to build the formula to put the data into it. It's not going to always just. Yeah, I get it. There's no point of going and writing out math when you can, like a division problem when you can just divide it on your phone.
Right. But you have to at least know how to structure the problem.
Exactly. Which I'm not very good at math, so that's which is funny with all the technology stuff I have around here.
I'm decent at it. Can't do it very fast in my head, though, unfortunately.
But no, like I say, the plan for my side of the videos is always going to be to bring more old technology. I've sometime this week I'm going to try to film my next unboxing, which again still sitting on the floor. I just got some stuff to do there. like I said, I've got the old VHS tapes that I want to do for all the Star Wars stuff that I have, and then just other old tech that I have.
Yeah, I've got a couple BattleTech videos already filmed. Got to redo one tiny part of one, but they're filmed and done. And still got a few things from GenCon that I bought that I want to go over. One I'd kind of like Owen to be here whenever I go over it, because it's a D&D thing, and since he's also DMing, I'd kind of like to get his opinion on it whenever we go over it. But we're going to work that out as to when, because I want him to be able to look, because I have to look through them first, and I want him to be able to have a chance to look through them first, kind of formulate an opinion instead of just like, here, what do you think?
Yeah.
As fun as that is doing that sometimes.
He wants to have an idea because that's why he's kind of been hesitant about doing his video. He wants to do it because he wants. He actually did a project for school the last night and today. He did a recording. He's supposed to be doing like some sort of like commercial for a fake product. He did one because he wasn't for sure if he was going to get with the rest of his class to do it.
Yeah.
Or the rest of his team to do it, and they finally did get a date. Or that's why I was taking Owen back to his mom's. Is that he got the video filmed, and I guess the video he made on his own, just in case if he couldn't film the other one. His mom said it was really funny, so I think just the idea that he knows that that's not going to go on YouTube, but this stuff is going on YouTube. He's a little bit shy about that, and me, I just don't care.
Yeah. Well, I've also still got a bunch of pictures from Gen Con that I'm probably going to edit into a video. And Sarah and I went somewhere last weekend. It was the national park over in southern Illinois, the Garden of the Gods.
Yeah,
and we took a lot of pictures there. I think I'm going to edit them together into a short video and put them up on our channel too. Even though it has nothing to do with everything else, but maybe folks want to see some interesting nature stuff. I don't know. That'll probably be the highest scoring video we put out.
Well, and the thing is that I think when people say, "Oh, it's a geek cabal," that our videos have to pertain to a particular subset of items. That it has to be movies, it has to be games, it has to be this. It's like, again, like I said, I mentioned in the last podcast that I can geek out about cars because one of my degrees is in auto body repair. I used to build cars and do all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, well, you folks should expect some videos on Chat GPT soon too. I've been playing around with it over the weekend, and I've been getting some results. So
yeah.
So look out for those on my other channel. I'm going to open up how to use Chat GPT.
Maybe.
I'm mostly joking on that, by the way, as far as the other channel part. But I do plan on like talking a little bit about it in a video.
Heck, maybe I can even talk about because the house we're in right now. This is the house that I'm working on. I'm doing remodeling stuff on it. Maybe there's a crowd for that. I mean, I know there's some YouTube videos I've sat out there and watch. I learned how to do everything off YouTube.
Well, I mean,
not the right way of doing it, but a way of doing it.
Like, I think our second most watched video. I think part of the reason I know part of it is because there's just not many videos on the topic. It's a section of BattleTech lore that doesn't get a lot of coverage, and I know that's part of it. But the other part is I know it has to do with how I've structured the title. It's what is the Dark Age, and if you can answer a question, because how do you search for things? Question.
Yeah.
So, plus if you're actually answering the question, people are looking for the answer. So you are actually providing a service, and not just the other thing I saw, where I could just type a few things in, and in 5 minutes it'll produce a 10-minute video for me, ready for YouTube with a voice and everything. That's what's going on my second channel, folks. We're going to monetize the crap out of that to pay for this channel, along with the Chat GPT books I'm going to write on Amish romance.
Yeah, I'll say the other one
that's apparently a booming field.
The other thing that I just watched a video on that kind of relevant to what we're doing here is I watched CoffeeZilla's video of it's a podcast scam where not that podcasters are scamming people, but the company that brings all the podcasters together under one umbrella, and then I'm assuming that they help set up advertisers.
Yeah, it's probably similar to a
channel partner,
like a talent agency in Hollywood.
Well, maybe that.
Where they you go to them, they try to get you jobs, they get a chunk of the money. It's probably something like that, and they have it instead of a talent pool. Well, it's still a talent pool, but it's a podcaster pool, and presumably they were taking more of the money because the money probably goes to them first.
Oh yeah, I assume then
Because that's like what that Michael Avenatti. Do you remember him from the 2016 election? I think right in the 2020 election. He was the guy that was representing Stormy Daniels. It kept coming on like, oh, we've got the goods to take down Trump, and like CNN was like, maybe this guy should run for president. And then it turns out, oh no, he's been embezzling money from his clients. Because like, since he's the lawyer, the money goes to him, and then to the client. Well, that second step just wasn't happening. And I'm pretty sure at this very moment he's in a California prison. I believe.
but so no, I mean the idea of it. I mean, I would love to have obviously if the partner was right to have something set up because hell, if I could do this all day every day.
Oh
Just,
yeah, well,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I like my job.
yeah, there's
but
there are some things I'm looking into. Don't worry. That's why I mentioned. Spoiler alert. That's why I mentioned we're not going to put the links to some of this stuff just yet. Because I think we're going to do like several other channels do. We're just going to get Amazon affiliate links if anyone actually does want to buy these things, because it doesn't cost them anything extra to go through our affiliate links.
No.
But I have to look into all the ins and outs because there's a lot of things we can't say on the channel about it. Like I'm pretty sure we can't be like, if you want to help the channel, I'm pretty sure we can't actually say that. You're not supposed to.
But you can say though that if you like the products that you hear that speaking
right,
on,
we can explain it. Where it doesn't cost them anything extra. We get a commission.
All the equipment you're using is Amazon.
Yeah, that's where all this stuff came from.
And the camera.
So, and then if we were to, like when I do the book reviews, if it's purchasable on Amazon, we would include an affiliate link there if someone wants to buy it through there. But we also can't mention the price. That's one thing. Cannot.
Well, you wouldn't be able to because
I know it fluctuates, but I think that's why we can't mention it. Like it's in their terms of service. We can't. But that's one thing I need to look at just to make sure everything's understandable and that we wouldn't instantly violate something. I'm working on some products that I'm going to hopefully put up on Drive-Thru RPG once I get them all settled, and Brad and I are still kind of trying to hammer out the game and the game universe. And once we have that into shape, we do plan on turning that into a commercial product. And then we've got some other ideas. Brad actually spoke with last year at GenCon, and hopefully still has her contact information. The woman who's in charge of like the affiliate, I don't know if it's affiliate program or what it is through Miniature Market. And she basically said, once your channel gets a little bit bigger, contact us. Now, all that collectively is probably still not quit your day job, but it'll probably at least be like we can upgrade a few other things and maybe start using some of the money to get other things for the channel, to expand the channel, and so on and so on. And
yeah, well, that's like the other one was always debating on. I see a lot of the people that do the vintage stuff setting up like a PO box because a lot of people will donate or. I'm not saying that I expect people to donate stuff because I mean I've seen where some people will actually like say, hey, I'll send this to you, you can use it on your channel, and then you send it back kind of deal too.
Yeah, I mean if the channel ever got to any kind of size at all, there's always Patreon, I suppose.
Yeah,
or as Ed Greenwood calls it, Patreon.
Well, and not that I wouldn't, I mean obviously I get the Patreon thing, but
I would the one way I would want to do it is if there was a whatever tier was actually donating money, if we were giving them something back, you know.
And I don't know that we have anything right now that we can.
Well, right, but that's like I said, I'm trying to do the stuff for some of the written products that are going to go to Drive-Thru RPG, and it might be a case of we just do that with D&D stuff, that we can come up with. It's worthwhile. But acknowledging that, like, you're chipping in $5, like, don't expect, like, a player's handbook or something, like,
Yeah.
It's going to be some NPCs, some magic items, every once in a while it's going to be a new subclass or something, It'd be stuff like that. Because I've been trying to think about how we'd go about doing, like, a drawing. I just don't think we could do it. Because I don't know the regulations outside the United States And I don't want to be like, well, this only applies if you're inside the United States. Those of you outside the United States, thanks for your money. You're not getting anything.
Yeah. No.
You know,
And,
so
and the thing is I'd rather go other avenues because, I know personally, I watch a lot of YouTube. It's not easy for people to be able to donate. The viewership, the subscribes, the shares, and all that stuff. I think that's honestly the better way to go until,
yeah.
Because, yeah, I don't imagine, at least not anytime soon, that we're going to get to the point where we're
Oh
be
yeah,
quitting.
no, these are distant plans, unless we somehow strike gold here somewhere.
But what I would like to do though is like again set up a thing so that we can have a Zoom call or whatever kind of call where we're chatting with other people. Because then that would also open up us getting guests on.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who we'd have as a guest.
I don't know.
Maybe our fan.
He is in telecommunications. We should probably hit him up. He could probably help us with this.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we've rambled on enough here. So, gonna go ahead and I guess bring this meeting to a close. I did already mention the like, comments, and shares and subscribes, all the normal YouTube stuff, but really that does help us grow the channel, and it can get us to a point where that maybe that we can start having some sort of revenue stream. Again, it's not that we want you guys to help with that, but
yeah, no, your help is commenting and telling us what you want to hear and what we want to.
Honestly, we didn't start this initially to expect to be making money off of it, but the idea is that having that additional stuff would allow us to expand and have additional items. So, anyways, we do thank you for joining us.
Thank you for sticking with us and listening, and what you've done thus far. We appreciate all of it.
Yep, for sure. So make sure you leave some comments on the video, and we'll see you in the next meeting.
See you later.